Mr. Ries, you have stated that globalization and competition on natural resources will increasingly cause international conflicts in the near future. Which natural resources do you expect to play a major role in causing severe conflicts?
Well, I wouldn't say globalization will lead to conflicts, but the trend that we see now is increasing problems with the global ecology. And two consequences of that. The one is more ecological turbulence, that's climate change, storms, desertification, so on, rising sea levels. And the other one is, over time, scarcity of raw materials, and that's everything from water, air, arable land, and so on. Which one of these individually, I don't think it will be. I think it will be a combination of, and it is already a combination of scarcity, which is leading to violence and conflicts. I mean, we can take one concrete example. The pirates, Somalia, they say that the reason they go for big ships is because the Western countries came and vacuum cleaned their seas from the biological fish, and so they can't fish anymore, so they go for the steel ships. I mean, I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but that's an example of the type of problems we get. And the other important thing here is conflicts. One has to define that. We're not just speaking about war, tanks rolling over a border, but all kinds of other tensions that can become very violent because of ecological problems.
Where do you most likely expect conflicts to rise during the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, they have already arisen. I mean, many of the poorer parts of the world, we already have conflicts where raw material scarcity is a major factor. Raw materials are a major factor of the conflicts. So they are already with us. In the richer part of the world, in 5 or 10 years, I don't know, but potentially in a more than 10-year perspective, if global raw materials become more and more scarce, then we could start to see real unpleasant competition for what is left. And one area that's close to Finland is, of course, the Arctic. If we cannot manage that, then we could have a pretty tense situation in the Arctic.
Are forests a strategic resource in some areas, and where especially?
Again, it depends on how we see strategic resource in forests. I mean, it's not just wood, but forests provide rain. We heard this morning in the conference that 50% of China's rain comes from the Siberian forests. So in this sense, these forests, or for instance 50% of Argentina's rain is from the Amazon, these forests are strategically vital, because if that rain slows down or stops, then those countries basically die.
Okay. What kind of policies do we need to avoid conflicts linked to natural resources in the future? What can be done in national level, and what must be agreed on the global level?
Yeah, well, that's again a huge question, but basically one can divide it into two. On the one hand, we need to regulate our behavior. So make sure that we don't damage the environment as much as we are doing now, and that's both through different kind of taxes and also through incentives, subsidies, and so on. And we're doing that, only not so much. And there's of course a problem with that, is that we have to keep the economy going at the same time. And I mean, for a country like China, that's a huge problem. And that's why basically we haven't really got anywhere in the big global climate negotiations. And then nationally, and the other solution is then to change the technology, to get technology which is more environmentally friendly. And that's of course partly business, which will go there if they see that there's a market for it. And then it's partly science and research and development. And of course what we can do is promote the kind of research and development that tells us what the problems are and how we can address them. So these are the type of things that we need to do and that we are doing, but globally that we're not doing yet at all enough in order to try and slow down the coming ecological catastrophe which is facing us.